I'm so sorry, Ford. You failed. I talk about Ford often. I'm just inspired by, I always think the same things that he must have been inspired by. Just basic, trying to make the world a better place. And you're not even thinking that. You're just thinking of making your own existence better, like farming. So I think everyone has it. We all have it in us. And that's why we all relate to Ford. But behind me is the Ford Foundation. So the Ford Foundation left a legacy. Um, we don't all get to do that, but we should try. And behind me is the UN, the green windowed building. So a living legacy. They're both living legacies. And the world needs so much more. Let's see what we can do. I'm very sad. I have to take back what I said today about the Ford Foundation. When I was outside its headquarters. When I went to the Ford Foundation, it was a return. It was returning from going there many years ago. So when I was homeless, I went there. I just stumbled upon it. I was homeless in the area because it was the end of being with um, my son in homeless shelters for many years. It was a real shame. It was a work injury that left me unable to pay my bills uh, in on time, which I was still paying my bills, but because I had to, for the first time ever, ask for help from someone, and I asked my mother and my aunt only a handful of times each. Uh, and I was going to pay them back. It was just that workers' comp was, they weren't settling with me yet. They weren't taking care of their obligation. They were obligated to pay me $400 a week for my loss of salary, for my loss of ability to work, and instead they were paying 120. So on $120, and then they didn't even pay it all the time. I was budgeting. Even on that, I was making it. But they didn't even pay that. They would hold it and then pay it back in a lump sum. Hold it, pay it back in a lump sum. But every time they held it, it was without warning. So I would have to borrow if my rent was due that week or in those weeks, and I would have to borrow not for the full rent, just like a 200 here or 100 there. And so my family was able to skirt the law and go right to my landlord and with my landlord negotiate that they were not going to renew my lease and that I would move in with my mother. My mother thought it was going to be a better situation for her to have us live there, and so did my brother. This was not on my agenda at all. My son was a young child, and I was a young mother, and I was a good mother and a good provider. And so just losing a little bit of financial stability can take your whole entire life from you. It's amazing. But that's not my point here. My point was the Ford Foundation. So when I was always impressed by Ford. I always felt like I always felt an affinity, okay, as most Americans would, I think. So when I was homeless in the area, it was in the UN area. I was we had to leave. We had to be out by. It was we had to leave by. Um, well, it doesn't matter, but I stumbled into the Ford Foundation by accident, which was in not knowing that it was there. I just didn't know anything about it, and I had no desire to know anything about it. I was just going, trying to be warm, trying to be um, uh, occupying a couple of minutes in my day. I was very busy with starting my business, which I've always been working on. But I was walking along because that was the area I was in shelter. And so there was the Ford Foundation, and I was impressed, and I went in, and it was sort of like a rainforest inside. I thought it was really nice. It was welcoming to the public, and it was a green space inside. Okay, now we have a lot of those in the city. I think they did that before we had green spaces, so much here in the city. But what I saw over the years during COVID and they before COVID, they closed down. At some point, they closed down. Now I've been not homeless for 9 years now, but they closed down. I've been here in this apartment for 9 years, but they closed down only to reopen and look the same from the outside, the same sort of rainforesty type thing in the inside. I have a video to put out with that I did today, which was before I walked up and encountered their security desk. I was shocked. Instead of a reception area, they had security. So they completely redid it for the reason to have security. This is what I've seen all around the city, and it's horrendous. It's this presence of security. It's a layer of security that keeps the public out. It keeps the people insular. The people that work for these corporations and these companies are working in a way that they feel like elite and like pride of the pot. I don't know where they get this. We all work. We all enjoy having a paycheck. Pulling a paycheck is a privilege. It's not. Uh, it doesn't make you elite. But here in the city, it has. So I'm not sure what has happened to the structure that the security presence overwhelmed everything from politics to like every kind of corporate office, every kind of structure. It has this security layer, and security, and they are above it. They're like this to everybody. They are above themselves. They're beyond reproach. They can't even be questioned in terms of what the company, like you can't ask them a simple question about the company. The company is supposed to welcome in the people that it's serving, and anybody it's supposed to be able to serve. That's non-discrimination. It's supposed to be able to serve and ready to serve anybody. That's what it is to be in business. You cannot have a business that that uh, shuts out question or interest or thanks or whatever it may be. So all of this is going on under a very illegal time period in history. There's a lot happening that's illegal. There's a lot out there, and nobody's doing anything about it. I don't know about this security level of addition that we've seen across society, but I believe it came from celebrity world. From first we had newscasters before there was celebrities. We had newscasters, and they tried in this country to make them the sort of like celebrity that would need security. We didn't have celebrity that needed security before that. And it was, well, before that it was sort of like it was started like, especially here in New York, celebrity could live free to do whatever they wanted. Like, we weren't impressed. We're impressed at the person, not the celebrity or the celebritizing of them. So 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 the but what they did, I remember, is they had newscasters assaulted. There was one or two that they had assaulted in their home as if they had been stalked from some crazy at home that just got out of control and went and stalked them and this and that. So I believe it was part of I don't know, but a conspiracy to bring this security mindedness to America, so that it was this approach to say, and it was from America. I believe it's from our own people that felt inferior and felt that they didn't have a place in society. And they wanted people to see and feel that they were needing police protection, security protection, and that there were crazy people that wanted to harm them. So people crazed are upset, right? They're upset so much beyond belief that they cannot control it. So that's pretty much what they wanted us to understand, that there was this big fear of people out of control that were willing to harm others. So if we believe this, then we are paranoid, because if you go around in fear that somebody wants to harm you and you haven't seen that, that's paranoia. Some paranoia is healthy, we like to say here in New York. But we're not allowed to behave that way as businesses and as companies and as entities and politicians, etc. We need to be able to behave civilized in a civilized society. So I'm very dismayed at the Ford Foundation for what I saw there. I don't even want to describe it, but it was a layer of security that kept them from being a decent organization. If you can't be there for the people, then what are you there for? If an organization is not a fit organization, then who needs it? And that's what we're coming to in these days, because this is do or die time for the world. And so organizations need to pony up. They need to be fit, period. If we have a world that has to fear people, then what's the point of business? If we have a world that has to have security at the front doors, then we have failed as a world society. Period. So I'm going to put it on the top of my scorecards for the new item that I'm offering to my clients, which is a scorecard for CFR. I call it CFR. It stands for Corporate Fitness Responsibility. And so it's corporate structure analysis in terms of corporate structure in academia, in sciences, in tech, in corporations, etc. Government can use it. I would be more than happy to serve them. But this is a new day and age, and I have seen enough. Today was just the straw that broke the camel's back. You failed, Ford. And also, Ford actually contributed to the warming of society. I mean, in astronomical proportion. So, to the warming of the world and the warming of society. Maybe that's what I'll call this. I'll do a new hashtag, warming of society. That the security is afraid of. Because the more that they put this insular layer of security to try to protect themselves, the more they're endangering themselves. That's what they don't realize. Because people, it's only so long that they can do that before people start to feel the reaction that they need to have in order to push society forward. And we don't want revolutions all over the place, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we might. So, good luck out there. And a point about security, it's a different entity. It's a separate structure than the company that it stands for. So to have them as a reception desk is futile. There's no reception that they can give. They don't know anything about the company. They know very little. They know the bare minimum. And that's, like they always say, oh, you can find that out online. Yeah, that's what they can find out. I have to say, I'm ashamed of my city. This is New York. We're better.